World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Good afternoon. This is Tony Rogers, your host for Urbanology, the Art of War. And for those who are new viewers, that's kind of a play on names. My birth name is William Anthony Rogers. And for many years, I have been a student of Sun Tzu, who is the legendary martial artist, poet, and strategist who developed the art of war, which is a historic text of strategy. So that's a little bit of how the urbanology is focused on how to win without fighting, which is a Sun Tzu concept. But we're in 2024, and it's going to be a good year. But every year that I can remember, and this goes back a number of years, my daughter is 21 and was way before her. Harlem Lake is 50 years old. But I have always admired the development and way that my guest has allowed for people to become aware of who they are. I remember his first book. We did the chamber did a book party at the Harlem State Office building in the second floor art gallery, Numbers and You, which now I think he has thousands of people throughout the world who have been able to come in contact with that book. But I am honored to again be with the most distinguished, well-known international numerologist of African descent, Mr. Lloyd Strayhorn. How are you doing, my brother?
Doing fine. It is it's such a pleasure. You know, we've been knowing each other forever, as they say.
We don't have to tell those numbers.
That's why I says forever, because I lost the count, you know. But it's nice. And you know what's interesting? When you say that, we started with Harlem Week as a part of that original crew in 1974.
Right.
What happened is Lloyd had brought me a mock-up book. He gave me this book. I don't know what I'm possessing to give it to me, where you had to kind of like put in, you know, the titles and all that other stuff. And when he gave it to me, that's how Numbers and You came into reality because of Lloyd. And I still to this day have that book as
Wow.
memory of what it's taken. So, and that has been since 1980.
Boy.
1980. Yeah. And that book has been, I published 6 books since then. 4 of them are available on Amazon. And the best-selling book was the one that Lloyd gave me as a gift that I says, well, if I had to make a title, what it would be. And how I came across Numbers and You, because I only had so many letters. I didn't have a lot of A's and a lot of B's and a lot of C's. So I just says Numbers and You. And it's been Numbers and You ever since then. On everything I've done, my shows, everything I've done, that's been my signature piece, Numbers and You.
Well, brother, you know, actually, you were the first person to actually allow for me to understand the power of numbers. Except for, as I said before, you know, my mom, your dad, at the days we came up, the number man was very popular. He brought turkeys. He brought, you know, help Christmas presents. You know, the number man was that was an economic development opportunity that was taken away from the urban communities when they legalized the numbers.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. Brother Lawson was the one that was trying to get the state to take over lotteries, but the lottery was developed by Casper Holstein from the Caribbean. And he was born on December 7th. And when he came to Harlem, one of the things he did was he worked downtown on Wall Street. And he came up with this whole concept of doing the numbers in a way that was unheard of. But because of this brother, Casper Holstein, numbers employed many of our people during the Depression, to all that period. Casper Holstein even gave out the Casper Holstein Award to people during the Harlem Renaissance period, where it was about $1,000, which would be equivalent to about $15,000 now. And in fact, Casper Holstein's headquarters was near on 136th Street, right down the block from the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce.
You know, and sent a lot of people to college, did a number of things.
The number runners paid for children's summer vacation, the old ladies with the rent. I mean, the numbers runner did that. Now, none of that. There's no hint of that at all helping the community.
But yeah, that was an interesting time, you know, and I suppose your ability to kind of carry on that knowledge in a different type of a way, because learning from you, numerology dates back to ancient Kemet.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. When I tell people that numerology is an ancient African science, and here's the thing, well, everybody knows about Pythagoras being the father of numerology, right? Well, if you look at the history of Pythagoras, they tell you he went into Egypt to study.
Like so all of the others.
Theory, yeah, so if you ask on the logical question, well, on what continent is Egypt? It's on the African continent and nowhere else. And to give testimony, if you look at the Pyramid of Giza, what makes it distinct, it is built at the exact center of the earth there in Africa. People don't do that willy-nilly. And to this day, they still haven't unraveled all the mysteries to the constructions and the celestial constellations and connection it has to the heavens.
But the number factor had to be there in order to be as precise. I think it's faces the only true north based on, you know, a calculation that even today would be difficult to deal with without the types of equipment that we have.
Yeah. And in fact, the pyramid is one of the few man-made structures other than, I think, the Great Wall of China that can be seen from outer space.
Yeah. So, you know, numbers have been a a part of our lives. And I know that you have done a lot of research and reading your books about how, wars were sometimes won, or at least battles won based on numerology and astrology. I was writing about the government. I think Britain would have numerologists and astrologists to figure out what Hitler was going to do because he was into numerology.
Yeah, and even when Hitler's astrologers defected to London or England or Britain, that's when they used that knowledge. But even J.P. Morgan back in his day in the early 1900s, about 1909 or something like that, when they found out he was using Evangeline Adams, an astrologer of her time and significance, when they asked him, is it true that numerology makes millionaires? He said, no, it makes billionaires. That was his response. And to this day, what is there? J.P. Morgan. And he died on March the 31st of 1912.
J.P. Morgan Chase.
Yeah.
And I suppose the question comes, and I think I know part of the answer, is when the Christian mindset burnt all of the scrolls in Egypt and created a certain type of stuff that a lot of it is probably in the Vatican. People started looking at astrology and numerology as devil's workshop and that type of stuff because they took the knowledge for themselves and made you not want to deal with the knowledge.
And that was by design. Exactly. That was exactly to keep us in the dark.
And to this day, which is why I always love to have you on so people can hear you. To this day, people tend to feel a little uncomfortable to talking about astrology or that, or numerology. That ain't, but there's so much evidence as relates to how major components of our entire life and the lives of thousands of people have been influenced by astrology and numerology.
From Napoleon, who used it. Napoleon used it. One more recent was during the 80s when Ronald Wilson Reagan, there was an attempted assassination on his life on March the 30th of 1981 in front of the Hilton in downtown D.C. His wife, Nancy Reagan, then called in Joan Quigley, an astrologer born on April the 1st, who then from that moment on made sure her husband did not go anywhere unless his chart was done. And what makes it unique is this. There have only been 5 Aquarian presidents. William Henry Harrison, Abraham Lincoln, Kennedy, and then Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and then Ronald Reagan made the 5th one. The distinction is all 4 of those Aquarian presidents died in office. 3 of them died in the month of April. So in 1981, I did a piece in the New York Amsterdam News that people can research. I called the President-elect's chart, saying that he would have to be careful in the period of late March into April because 3 out of 4 of the presidents have died in the month of April, April 9th, April 12th, and then with Roosevelt, that was April 30th, I do believe. And what happens is, as a result of it, when she hired this astrologer, that is his wife, Nancy Reagan, she made sure, so he's the only distinction he has among all 5 Aquarian presidents, he's the only one that made it out of office alive.
What's Joe Biden?
He is November the 20th, and Kamala Harris, is born on October 20th. They're born a month apart. So when they won the election, it was in 2020.
So she's a Libra?
Yes, she's a Libra too, and he's a Scorpio too. Most presidents of the United States have been elected under the sign of Scorpio.
And what about Donald Trump?
He's a Gemini. He's on he's on March the 14th. I think it's 19.
Not March.
No, excuse me, June 14th. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
June 14th. Get me straight. Thank you.
Yeah, Gemini.
Yeah. You know, I know. You know.
That's interesting, but that makes sense. Geminis can rationalize anything.
And very adaptable, which he has been very adept at dodging bullets.
He sure has been, and is still dodging. Well, a couple of things. I was born June 19th, 1947.
Yes.
There are two questions. One, what does that mean for 2024? And now that you say that, Trump is a Gemini, that makes me a little nervous, but nevertheless, that's another story.
But he's in a different personal year than you. See, you this year, well, how you do it. First, let's start with the universal year itself. That's 2024. When I say universal, the word implies that every single one of us, I don't care what part of the human family you come from, what your economic status is, what your gender, your lifestyle, whatever the case is, every single individual living in this present moment is undergoing the influence of 2024, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why, when you add those four numbers up, it adds up to an 8. 8 represents money, power, authority, achievement, recognition, births, marriages, pregnancies, death, moving into a home, moving out of a home, reaching a certain level of maturity. Those under the signs of Capricorn, those under the sign of Aquarius and Librans will be those that'll be out front this year. Okay. So I'm very happy for Lloyd, since he is a Capricorn and celebrating the 50th year. It couldn't have happened to a better guy, Then not only that, but if you're born on the 4th or the 8th, the 13th or the 17th, the 22nd, 26th or 31st of the month, this is their year as well. But then there is the personal year. Okay, later for the world, what about me? Because that's how people are. But what I did in my mind is I said June the 19th, excuse me, and added it, instead of the year you were born, I added to the year that I want to know about for 2024. So when I said June the 19th, 2024, it tells me you are in a 6th personal year. That means this is a year for you to go back to school. You might want to change your diet or your health regimen, things of that nature. It means moving into a home, moving out of a home, going back to school. It means makeups, breakups, things of that nature. The best medicine for you being in a 6th year this year is sunlight, fresh air, and a brisk walk around the neighborhood. Those things will do wonders for you. It also means some adjustments, and also means some compensation. Here's what I mean. Suppose you were in a negotiation recently and you were with these people, but they didn't keep their end of the bargain and left you high and dry. Well, this year will compensate and make up for that loss. So that's why this is called a year of compensation also. This is a health cycle. So what it means is you'll probably be more mindful in your health than ever before, or somebody around you might need attended to their health. But there is a money cycle because it's romance and finance.
Well, usually with finance, you could always find romance. It's just when you don't have no money, it's hard to do that.
Well, we men have found that out. As the women used to say, there is no romance without finance.
Now, you said something about 77, because that will be 77 June the 19th, which is hard for me to even say. But
yeah. Well, what happens is that says it's going to be a good year. Why? Because once people know your numbers, every single individual has their numbers. So born on the 19th of June, your key numbers are the 1, 4, and 5. So what that meant when you told me how old you will be this year, well, that adds up to 14, which is a 5. That's one of your numbers.
So how 1, 4, and 5, let me write this down because, I've had good luck with the numbers.
Yeah, because the numbers rule the days, they rule the dates, they use the years, and they rule the ages. So I can tell you that, for example, I'll go back into your childhood, that ages that were very significant for you were age 10, age 13 and 14, age 19, age 22, 23, age 28, age 31, 33, age 37, age 40, 41, age 46, age 49, 50, You know what I'm saying? And on. Because each of those ages I mentioned add up to a single digit of either 1 or a 4 or a 5.
So, how do you get to the 1, 4, and 5?
It's
I,
easy. Well, for
I,
me, it's easy. I'm saying it's easy, like people know. First of all, the day you're born on is the most important date. That is the number that points direction of north in your life. So when
right,
you said you were born on the 19th day, I says 1 plus 9 is 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. Well, we
right,
all know, Tony, winners come in number 1.
right.
One, people are your visionaries, your futurists, your pioneers, your explorers, your inventors. They go where no man has gone before, so to speak, as they say in Star Trek. Number one, people are the first to do this, the first to do that. Let's say you had a lot of brothers and sisters, but you were the last one in the family. You may have been the first one to leave home, the first one to go to school, the first one to finish school. Number one tend to go well in law, medicine, science, entrepreneurship. They hold some executive position throughout the course of their life in some way, shape, or form. Because we all know a winner comes in what? Number 1. They don't come in 1.5, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, that's how it is.
So how does the 4 come?
Well, because there are certain numbers that are kind of connected by the hip, as they say.
Right.
Well, the 1 and the 4 are both connected. If I say a person's born on the 4, then I automatically throw in the 1. If a person is born in a 1, I'll throw in the 4. Both these numbers are ruled by the planet of the sun. The only thing is the number 4 rules the summer side of the sun, where the daylight is longer, the temperatures is higher, where the number 4 rules the winter side of the sun, which governs the sign of Aquarius, where the daylight is shorter and the temperatures are cooler. So when what you call it went into space on January the 20th of 1969, and to land on the moon, it was him. I forgot his name, and I used to know.
It was Armstrong, Neil
Yeah,
Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong. Well, he was the Leo, but Buzz Aldrin, his partner, was an Aquarius. So one was a 1 symbolically, one was a 4. And then I got the 5 from your sign of Gemini, because Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, and Mercury rules the number 5. So thus I'm able to discern your numbers, which is explained in my best-selling book, Numbers in You.
So I wanted you to do that so that people can understand. I mean, I know you're busy. You still take appointments and do readings.
Yeah. And right now I'm booked through April 18th or something like that.
So, and how do they reach you, Lloyd?
Well, they can go right there, Lloyd Strayhorn, Lloyd-Strayhorn.com. That would be the best way, and they can schedule an appointment.
Because again, those are things that you're talking in general, but from sitting with you, there's so many other things that can come out of a session, which is usually about an hour, I guess.
Yeah. It ranges from 15 minutes to a half hour, all depending.
But you can you tell a lot about things that we look at as far as what's happening, and I can understand it based on how our minds have been programmed, where people just can't put astrology or numerology into the reality of being able to give advice as relates to how the world is going to be in the future. And it's amazing, and I suppose people who, and I don't want to get beat up, but but if you can believe that a man walked on water,
yeah,
why can't you believe that there are ways that developed before that concept of Jesus, before that, to understand how life really is? I mean, it's interesting as to how sometimes we accept certain things and we reject other things just based on the program.
Well, one of the things, Tony, is that the Bible.
Jesus was a Capricorn, right?
Huh?
Jesus was a Capricorn, right?
Yes, he was on the 25th of December in that time. But what happens is, this is a very, when Alexander the Great was in Chaldea, which is Egypt, in 356 BC, they told him then that the knowledge of numerology and astrology was hundreds of thousands of years old. At the point when I had the late Dr. Ben Yekinen on my show,
Hmm.
he explained that when you went into the tombs of Egypt, you could see the hieroglyphs of the zodiac signs. If you go to 60 Center Hudson Street, downtown New York, and go in, once you get past the heavy security and go into the middle of the rotunda, all the zodiac signs are in a circular motion. Because I took pictures of all the signs, so I got proof. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you notice, every newspaper, practically with the exception of the New York Times, has what? A horoscope section. But they keep it very general. But for the masters, the people who are serious, they've always had their seers. They've always had their consultants to the stars, from J.P. Morgan to Hitler to Napoleon to Ronald Reagan, and a whole lot more people that you don't even know about. And the beautiful part about numbers is this. Imagine a world without numbers. You know, when the COVID came, you know, everybody had these challenges. How long can you hold your breath? And how long can you do this? And how long can you do that? So my challenge was, this $100 bill is yours for free, but you must tell me how you're going to start your day tomorrow from morning to night without using numbers. It's impossible. You know what time it is. You're going to get a call. You're going to have to make a call. If you live in an elevator building, you got to push a button. You got to go to your job. Well, that has an office location. You know, there is nothing. And I'm not talking about the smart Alex that say, well, I'll stay in bed all day. No, you're not going to get my $100 doing that. No, you got to do it in a normal fashion as if you're carrying your life in general. Numbers are so part and parcel of our lives, we just take it for granted. And the one thing I used to say is, suppose a guy met the most beautiful lady in the world that just knocked his socks off, and he wanted to get to know her better. And he asked for a number. She says, well, just call any number. Well, he'll be calling numbers till the cows come home. He got the right 10 numbers in the right order. He get the right person he's looking for. So numbers are in various forms. So for an accountant, he can tell you whether you're going to get something back or pay. For a doctor, they can tell you whether your blood pressure is normal, cholesterol level, other things, EKGs, things like that. The greatest thing coming up is Sunday Super Bowl, when it's the numbers. And the greatest honor for an athlete is to have his or her number retired from the franchise. Where as long as that franchise exists, no other athlete coming into the franchise can use that jersey number. And what would you do without betting? Numbers will go out of business. The number game lottery, New York Lottery, will go out of business tomorrow. Telephone company will go out tomorrow, because the telephone company, whether it's T-Mobile or you name it, their whole structure is predicated on giving out numbers.
Well, the other part of it is everything that's around us. Numbers were involved in it. So if you land in the bed, there had to be numbers in order to develop the measurements to create the sheets,
Exactly,
the
Tony.
wood,
Exactly.
the mattress,
Exactly.
all of those things started out, as numbers, or a diagram that had numbers in it.
So if you fast forward to the 21st century, where they tell you, don't give out your PIN number, don't give out your social security number. You know what I'm saying? All these things. So numbers are part and parcel, and numbers will not go anywhere. When I met Minister Farrakhan on several occasions, he said that what I did was called supreme mathematics. In fact, even without him saying that, the universal language is mathematics. Did you know Gladys West, a African-American woman in Virginia, invented the GPS? So when you
Yes.
get in your car and put in the address, it was she that figured that out. And yet she used MapQuest when she goes traveling, which is ironic.
What do you see, the whole issue that we're going through as far as with immigration and many of the things that seem to, which is a lot of numbers. There's numbers coming in every day, but that seems to be a major issue that has to be dealt with in some kind of way, else we won't have a city. How does numbers affect that,
Excuse me.
in your view? How does numbers affect we're in 2024. We have more people that we can deal with coming into the city. This issue of immigration is becoming uh, a real serious thing. Uh, if I was Mayor Adams and I said, Mr. Strayhorn, you know, the government is not helping me, the state is not helping me, and I don't have the money to do it myself. What would you advise me to do in 2024 with this issue?
I jokingly start to say, run for the hills, okay? But you know, Mayor Adams is the number one. Did you know there have only been 2 African-American mayors of New York City? The Honorable David Dinkins, born on a 1, and Adams, born on a 1.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I have some good people in
my
track.
But here's the thing. To me, right now, the immigration is nothing compared to the economy that's affecting this nation in the next 2 years. The reason why is this. Just as individuals have numbers, so do nations. Well, the United States, born on or conceived on July the 4th of 1776, their numbers are the 4, 1, 2, and 7, which means they're opposition numbers to the United States. Those opposition numbers to this country is the 6, the 8, and the 9. So since this is the year of the 8, which is opposition number to the United States, and next year is the year of the 9, which is another opposition number to the United States. I was explaining on a prior show that this is a year where this is going to affect the economics. I guess immigrants coming up, because I understand now there's this big fuss because immigrants are getting these cards or whatever, they can buy food or whatever the case is, but that's dealing with the economics. Then you're giving billions of this country and another billion to that country, and then people right here in this country are starving in the midst of plenty. How can you have billions of dollars? So a lot of people, and rent is just sky high. I saw something where they had this apartment. It was like, I mean, you know, your office, it was like that. But then on the floor, they had the bathroom was down the hall, 2 bathrooms on the same floor where they had to be shared between all the neighbors. And they wanted $1,200 just for the rent. So food is up and rent is up and housing is up. So I tell people this year is, yes, it represents normally money, power, authority, achievement, recognition. But this year says because the 8 is the oppositional number to this country, that people are going to have to be more frugal. It is wants have to take a back seat to your needs. You might want a nice coat, but you need to pay the mortgage or the rent. You might want to go somewhere out the country, but you need to stabilize your situations. So people, now, if anybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses this year, they're going to have problems the same time next year because inflation is high. This country is already in $34 trillion in debt. The consumer debt is $100-something trillion in debt. Okay, so yes, they give the projection that everything is okay. The unemployment, I think they hired supposedly 300,000 people in the employment enrollment, but let me tell you, this country is going to have problems the next 2 years, and it's not me saying it. It's
well, it sounds like you're saying that we might have Trump as the president. Unfortunately,
you know, that's another thing too. When they talk about privileges of a certain kind that shall be unsaid, but I doubt very seriously, Tony, if you and I could have multiple convictions and multiple accusations and still run for the highest office in the land. That's all I'm saying, brother.
Can you imagine if Obama had that?
Just one. Not multiples, just one.
But you know something which is not said, and I truly believe that one of the other issues why Trump's ratings are higher is because many people look at Joe Biden as being old and might die before the 4 years is over, and then they have a black woman to deal with in the presidency.
Well, this country has
nobody's talking about, but I'm sure that if I can think about it, it's been thought about.
Well, it's like in 2008 when Hillary Clinton and Bill Richardson was running for the president along with this guy unknown, Barack Obama. And on the day he was elected, from that moment on, there was a meeting at a restaurant with the politicians of how to make sure he did not finish out his first term, much less go into his second term. So he completed both. You know what I'm saying? But then again, he's a Leo, which rules the number one. And I could have told him that wasn't going to work.
Well, it's very interesting how, as relates to you talk about the birthday of the country. Matter of fact, another thing before I go into that, New York, I think, is 400 years old. I think.
Yes, it was founded on August the 26th back in 18 something. But it's also ruled by the sign of Leo, which is number one. That's why New York is number one in communications, number one in finances, number one in homeless now. It's number one in a whole lot of negatives now that it didn't used to be.
That's interesting. So I guess the idea you said money and romance will be a powerful.
That will be the predominant theme for everybody. Makeups, breakups, forming of alliances, breakup of corporations, breakup of relationships, all those kinds of things. So it's going to be a very interesting year. And what's interesting, when I went to China, the lucky numbers in China are the 8 and 6, which are the two opposing numbers to this country. And so that easily explained to me why China and the United States have never been on the same page, other than they forced to deal with the economics. Now with BRIC being formed, and they're going to switch over to the gold standard because in 1974, Richard M. Nixon, a Capricorn, by the way,
right,
one who took the United States off the gold standard and started putting promissory notes. And you know, they say promises are made to be broken.
That's interesting. I think I have a note here. If a person, what is it? August the 31st, 1957.
They would be a Virgo 4 person. They would have the same numbers as you. First of all, they would be a 4. Why? Because they're born on the 31st of the month. 3 plus 1 is 4.
Right.
Don't forget, 4 is one of the few numbers that has what is called a co-ruler attached to it, which is the 1. I was saying, so if a person is a 1, I got to automatically attach to 4. If a person is a 4, I got to attach to 1. So their numbers are 4, 1, and 5. So what it tells me about this person, they would be a person who tends to be misunderstood. They have been misperceived as being a maverick or rebel or black sheep at some point along their career. And therefore they've created, through no fault of their own, people who are either jealous or envious or insecure with them. But the birthday of this individual says they're very visionary, they're very brilliant, they're very much ahead of their time, and they love to think outside the box. And they like to be their own best company. So you can't knock on the door because you're going to surprise them, because the surprise is you ain't going to get in unless you let you know in advance. You're coming, okay?
That's interesting. But and you know, Harlem Week is 50 years old. So
yeah.
1974.
Yep. We were there. We were right there. And when it was in 3 locations, 125th, 135th,
155th.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
You know, so 1974, what type of year? That it was that
was the year of the 3. That was the year of the 3. In other words, 1974 as a 21, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is all things social, entertainment, music, arts, and that's exactly what Harlem Week was about. I think it was called Harlem Day.
Harlem Day, the first one was Harlem Day, 1974.
Yeah, and then it's Harlem Week, but the whole thing has been Harlem Month for the last 30 years.
Yeah, since the pandemic kind of put a hold on that, even though based on technology, more people have been able to experience.
That's what I was going to say. But the thing that turned it around is the technology really brought it a wider audience.
Yeah.
So now it is bigger and better and as popular as ever before. And now that the pandemic is over in that sense, now a lot of people can come live and experience the experience of Harlem
just
music.
like this show. I mean,
Yeah.
there are always yings and yangs in all things, but this show is a result. The televised WACR 90.3 FM, because we couldn't get into the studio.
And
So,
that's what the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce did. They turned lemons into lemonade in that sense.
mhm, which is great. Now, tell me about. You said how many people are dealing with your subscriptions throughout the world now?
Well, one thing, I have an online course. It's called the Learn from Lloyd series. There are three. Learn from Lloyd, how to read a person like a book. Learn from Lloyd, the next step in numerology, and learn from Lloyd, the do's and don'ts in numerology. Today and tomorrow, in fact, my course is on sale. If they go to Lloyd-Strayhorn.com, they can get all three courses now. That's told in value. Retailer would be about close to $300 right now. You can get all three courses and own them for less than lunch for two. One is $11.99, and the other is $12.99. So I always, anytime I advertise my courses on my Live with Lloyd show every Monday and Wednesday on YouTube,
Mhm.
I always do it when it's on sale, because I want to get the knowledge out there. So as a result, now my online courses have over 7,000 students enrolled in over 99 countries. There are only 194 countries, so at least I'm about 50% of the way. And I'm just, listen, I'm trying to knock it out the ballpark. And it's translated in over 30 languages.
Wow. And that's Lloyd.Strayhorn.com. You go to that site.
Yeah, Lloyd-Strayhorn. Lloyd-Strayhorn.
Strayhorn.
Yes. Now, if there's another website I have too called Linktree/Numbers in You. There, I have my Numbers in You. My best-selling book is now in the audio form. I now have a podcast called Numbers in You. My greatest pride and joy, my newest pride and joy, is I now have a numerology app called A Star 8 that people can download on their phones on either Android or Apple.
What is it again?
A Star 8, ASTAR, the number 8. Think of a star in the heavens with the number 8 attached to it.
A star, ASTAR.
ASTAR, the number 8. And you
8.
see, even before you get to it, say by Lloyd Strayhorn, download it into your phone, and people can have fun. They'll get a calendar. It tells about relationship, the best kind of call for you. All kinds of stuff is on there.
So what you do is when you download it, you put your birthday in
Yeah,
it?
you first of all, you sign in with your email and phone number. They'll send you a code that allows you to access it. Then you put in your name, your birthday, and you'll get a reading. You'll get a lot of information on it. It's called A Star 8, and it's available on those platforms.
Okay, well, that's some great new news. I mean,
And I have a free monthly newsletter too.
okay. How do you get to the monthly newsletter?
Well, what they do is they should go to Linktree, linktr.ee/numbers and you.
Do it slower.
Linktree, linktr.ee/numbers and you.
Okay.
And they'll see all the services that I offer. I offer a myriad of services now.
Well, Stray, you have, there we go.
There it is, yes, Linktree.
Linktr.ee.
They can sign up for the courses right there, order my audiobook right there, download my app, mobile app and everything like that. Order the books, set of readings, everything is right there for them on that link right there.
Linktree EE. I'm writing it down too, so
yeah, tr.ee. It's really, so you would think TREE, but they put a dot between those two E/numbers in you, and you'll see all the services that I offer, from a free newsletter to online courses. But those online courses are free, and also I'm on TikTok, so my kids think I'm the greatest thing since ice cream.
So how do you? I'm not too familiar. I have a TikTok app, but how do you find? There's a search.
Like numbers in you. Everything I do is numbers in you. When you go to my YouTube channel, it's numbers in you. When you go to TikTok, it's numbers in you. When you go to Facebook, it's numbers in you. When you go to
And
Twitter,
that's
it's
spelled out,
numbers in you.
numbers and
And
you.
you. No fancy spelling, just numbers in you.
Uh-huh.
And also X, which is formerly known as Twitter, is numbers in you.
So you've been able to use the technology, which is started with what, an O and a 1.
That's all. Isn't that amazing? The whole premise is based upon ones and zeros. It's amazing what two numbers. So imagine 9 numbers. Why do you think you can't hit the lottery? The odds is like 1,000,000,000 to 1. You know what I'm saying? And all the numbers are from 1 to 0. But it's how they are arranged. Now they got them in algorithms, things like that. So people now about how many likes and how many followers and how many views and all of that stuff. Everything is numbers.
I'm wondering, when we're talking about AI, that eventually AI might put the lotto out of business because it would seem that the AI could probably figure out an algorithm that make it happen.
It's quite possible because they do that now with the stock exchange, the stock market. So it is quite possible. But knowing people as I do and how this country is profit and greed driven, I don't think they're going to let the lottery system go out of business. Because this is why lotteries are played more in our communities more than anywhere else. Lotteries are played across the board throughout Manhattan, no question, but always in heavily African-American communities is it more concentrated, scratch-off cards, numbers. And I used to see people in line playing about $100 worth of numbers. Now, only one number's coming out, Tony. Only one.
It is funny, though. I guess maybe the older, but even the younger who grew up at lottery, but you had made a statement early on that actually the whole number game was developed by, a person of color who.
Yes, Casper Holstein. Be clear, Casper Holstein from the Caribbean, born December the 7th. And he died in April.
He just died.
I think he died in April of 1943, I do believe.
How do you spell his last name?
Holstein. Holsteine. Holstein. Holsteine. Casper. Casper. They got books written on him now.
Uh-huh.
Of course, they say Bumpy Johnson, but it was the Dragon Queen, Madam Queen.
Madam Queen, yeah.
Yeah, that brought Bumpy Johnson in, and then Bumpy Johnson came out into his own. And Bumpy Johnson, because my father used to cut Bumpy Johnson's hair, but he was known as the exterminator. He had an exterminating business on the east side.
Okay.
So it was a double-edged sword.
Well, yeah, he did extermination of the number.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's his interest there, and actually, again, some of the older guys used to talk about. I remember when we first started in Harlem Week, we used to hang around Lloyd Williams and I with Honey Coles and.
That's right.
And those guys, and they would tell stories, man, about how these guys, even though they, were criminals, but just like the number of people, I mean, it was against the law.
They were the Robin Hoods of the community.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? They made the money, but they would sponsor bus rides to Bear Mountain for the kids, pay little old ladies rent. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
the Hudson Bell, it used to, every Father's Day, there would be this big ship on the pier of 125th Street that would go to Bear Mountain.
That's right. And Mother's Day was a special, all the women. And I mean, so a lot of those things was lost after the takeover. But I do remember Brother Lawson was very, very determined about trying to legalize lotteries, the numbers game. But I don't think he knew the ramification would take. But still to this day, numbers are still played in the streets.
Yeah, because matter of fact, I think that it was either you or someone was telling me that Holston and some others went to Albany to kind of figure out how they might be able to get involved, and the payback deal was so bad that they walked out. It was
No, that was Brother Lawson and Company. Because
uh-huh.
he used to call me the numbers man in that time in the 60s and 70s. He would refer to me as the numbers man.
Yeah, Jim Lawson, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, Brother Lawson.
But those are some interesting times and interesting people. And it's, I guess it's a history, which is why I'm happy that we have an opportunity to be on shows like Soul City, because this type of history is the second Harlem Renaissance. That was the theme of Harlem Week, the beginning of the second Harlem Renaissance, and from 1974 up until 2024, that's information that we are able to record. We couldn't hear Langston Hughes talk about stuff, because if we had heard him, if I was interviewing Langston Hughes, his conversation would be a lot different, I'm sure, than what we were reading in the books about him.
Yeah. He just had a birthday on the 1st of February, the Honorable Langston Hughes.
But Lloyd, it's always a pleasure. And again, for those who would like to, and you have to probably wait until May now, but where would they go if they want to get a reading?
Well, what they do is they go to Linktree/numbers-in-you. That's the easiest one, because they don't have to peruse my website. They can go directly to the sources, click on the links. Whether they want the audio book, the podcast, download.
So everything is there. That's the one-stop shop.
Right. That's the newest thing. All this is new to me. My kids got this. Well, Dad, you got to have that. No, I don't. Yes, you do. And so I've listened to them.
Well, it's interesting. When I was at City College, I developed the first information technology workshop with Columbia University, but I can't keep up, with that. Even though I predicted it, I said, the digital divide. I have articles about the digital divide. If you didn't understand, which is truer now than it ever was.
You see, Tony, you were number one. One of their traits is they're very visionary. They're very futuristic. They go where no man has gone before. So where it was just an idea for them, probably just a crazy thing in your head that has 20 years later become a reality.
Well, again, visionaries usually are very lonely and sometimes broke. Because they're so far ahead that by the time people catch up with them, they're someplace else.
Yeah, but then they recognize the genius in you. But that's the beauty of geniuses. They're simply ahead of their curve. The only price they pay is being misunderstood in the moment. But when you read the history books about them, they were highly praised about it. Nikola Tesla was a number one. A genius that he was. Yes, he was, July 1st.
And when he developed the way to get electricity from the air, Con Edison and the boys said no.
In fact, he wanted to use his services on the sailing of the Titanic in April of 1912. But it was, I forgot the name of the other company that was used. And they had more political clout. But they refused to use his technology. So there's a lot of things in history that people really don't know. But we need to read, like all those books behind you, people need to read. Half the people don't read, half the people can't read, unfortunately. And this is why one of the situations we're in.
Knowledge is power.
Yes, it is.
One of the things I am always grateful for, Lloyd, is that every year I'm able to have a conversation with you. Sometimes the only time we really talk to each other, because when we're doing stuff, you running, I'm running, All the week you got.
When we got things to do, we ain't sitting around twiddling our thumbs, man. No.
So the longest conversation I have with you is when we do interviews. Now, that's not the reason why I always come and get you.
We've been doing this for years, though, Tony. Yeah. This isn't something you just doing the first time. This got to be at least 10, 11, 12 years that we've done this.
More than that. Look, I just told you, Kia is 21 years old now.
Yeah.
So we've been ever since I started doing this broadcast, because she did, when you hear the urbanology theme,
How old
that's
was she
Kia.
then?
She said, "You listen to my dad's
I know her name is Kira, right?
Kia, Kia."
Okay,
That's
yeah.
another one. She's born. Uh, she just turned 21, December. Uh, December the 17th? Because my son and my mom was December the 20th, and Kia was December the 17th. So Christmas and birthdays, they didn't want to hear that.
My daughter is born on December 24th, and she makes it very clear that December 24th is not December 25th. You got to have two things ready, okay, girls?
but yeah, so it's been over 20 years that we've been doing this,
Yeah. I know we've
broadcasting.
been doing it more than the New York Minute, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Almost when the New York Minute started, we were doing this thing. But
Yeah.
Lloyd, I am so happy about your success.
Thank you, Tony.
I
And
will
likewise.
always, as long as I'm able to have these types of conversations with you. So every year, but in fact, I had people call, when are you going to do the interview with Lloyd Strayhorn? So we can find
But
out.
you know what makes it nice, Tony? As long as we've been doing this every year, we do something with a little difference to it, adds a little bit more flavor to
A
it.
little bit more information.
Same old, right?
Right. Because there's so many things that we can talk about that it would take a show, which
We
I
need at least
understand.
another hour or so. Easy.
And maybe at some point when you have your Soul City show, which I understand is going to be in 2024, you can have me on your show. We can.
I certainly will, Tony. Get in your business. Definitely.
Well, we're going to do some special things around the 50th anniversary of Halloween. There's so many people who have come through in the last 50 years, but the impact that program has had over the Harlem community is amazing.
Well, I think for us, the one distinction is we were there when it started. Ain't too many people got that bragging rights. There are a lot of Johnny come latelys, but we were there from Jump Street.
Well,
remember when
again,
it was the insurance building? That's where the headquarters was, at the insurance building on 125th Street.
Yeah, the Mutual Life Insurance building.
Yeah, Mutual Life Insurance building. That was the headquarters originally.
310 Lenox Avenue.
Yep, 310. Yep, 310. Got it. See, good.
A lot of stuff, and Sylvia's was just a counter. Now they own the whole block.
Yeah,
Lloyd Strayhorn, it's so good to talk to you. I mean, there's not too many people that we can have these memories with, because there's not a lot of people. I can relate with my 1223. She has a baby. This is my Harlem Cinderella.
December 23rd.
Yeah, 1223.
That's interesting. She's born the same day as Madam C.J. Walker, the first woman who developed the hair products. The County Cullen Library was once where her mansion stood. Did you know that?
No.
Yes. She was the first woman to become a millionaire, black, white, indifferent. The first woman to become a millionaire in this country.
Wow.
Developing hair products.
Madam C.
Walker. Madam C.J. Walker, yes. The one thing I love about being in Harlem, you learn the history. That's why we know Harlem in the way we do. That's why we appreciate Harlem in the way we do.
And hopefully through this technology and others, we'll be able to preserve that. GoHarlem.org, there's a lot of conversation that's being had as far as how to preserve this stuff, how to make it, AI can recreate these types of things, and so people can see them from the real part of it. Well, again, man, we could go on and on and on. Lloyd, time has caught up with us. Numbers again.
Yeah. But Tony, thank you. I appreciate this. This is something I always look forward to every year. We're running a little behind because normally we try to do this in January, but February is the next best thing.
That's true. We usually try to do it in January.
We always try to do something around your birthday on a one-to-one basis. So that will always be constant,
Well, again, I remember once, and I'll let this go. I was someplace on June the 19th, and there was a radio show, and you were doing they had you come on to talk about certain things, and you said, by the way, this is June the 19th, the birthday of Tony Rogers. I said, oh, my man.
How you gonna forget family? We family, okay? Something that seems to be a lost art nowadays. Family, and we are family.
Well, we definitely are. We've been together longer than some family members have. So,
amen, amen.
You take care of yourself.
So much, and you too, buddy.
And I have to get on the site. Matter of fact, around May, around close to my birthday, I'm going to have to schedule a time. Maybe I do it in advance so that
yeah. It's always somewhere around June, early June, but it's
June
always
19th. I'll have to schedule a time to come in and see what 77 really looks like.
We're gonna make that happen too. I can't wait to get in your business.
Okay? Take care, my friend.
Take care, buddy.
Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
And
Jazzy Pooh, the moderator, thank her very, very much.
Jazz and Matt and all of the Soul City crew, they are great people and have made things happen. So take care, my friend. We'll be talking.
Man. Have a blessed day, Tony.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And I won't wait until February before I contact you again.
I know how you operate. We good.
So that's our show for today. We are about ready to call it a day, but that was fun. Numbers and you. Lloyd Strayhorn is a treasure, one that I would suggest, if you're watching this, sometimes all things happen for a reason. If you're seeing this, look him up. You'll be surprised at how he can help you just get a different point of view as to the things that you may be looking to do. We're going to have an interesting show next week. I share the Urbanology platform with Columbia University, and we'll be talking about business. But on the first half of the show, we'll have an interview because the Fine Arts Show is back. I think it's February 23rd. So it should be an interesting show, and plus we will always hear about some of the new things that are taking place as it relates to employment opportunities at Columbia University with Ms. Dela Cruz. So you take care. Thanks for viewing us. Have a safe and enjoy some of the vitamin D sun. Is glad. I'm happy that the days are getting a little longer, and spring is right around the corner. So you take care of yourself, and hopefully we'll see you next week. God willing. Take care.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM New York.
Urbanology, yeah. The art